Welcome to another episode of In Your Business. Today we're going to meet with two local entrepreneurs who have a very interesting story. They're in the restaurant business, but we're used to seeing them in the community and knowing them all around the community as their impact is not just in their restaurant, but it's in everything that they're doing around the community. So today it's going to be fun just to get to know these two entrepreneurs, listen to their story, and learn about them. So Rachel, Ron, Hughes, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So today we're going to learn about two businesses. Primarily we're going to learn about, the restaurant, but at the same time we're going to learn about the Tin Cup and the Tin Lizzy. So both located in downtown Richmond and serving our community well.
Thank you.
Before we learn about the businesses, though, let's learn about you as the entrepreneurs. That's one of my favorite things to do as we start the show. So, Rachel, if we could start with you as just a young child. Did you grow up here, or where did you grow up?
I did not. I've been in Richmond about 25 years now, 26 years, something like that. I moved here to take a job with United Way. And before that, I came from southern Indiana. Grew up on a 240-acre farm. And you talk about being an entrepreneur, you pretty much have to if you're a farmer. Especially these days, I think. You really have to think outside the box. And growing up, my family was very poor, but we didn't realize it. Because we always had meat in the freezer. We always had food, canned and in the pantry. And we just had a great family life.
Sure. And what were you thinking, though? What did you want to be when you grew up?
I always thought I would be a teacher. And in fact, I went to school, and I have a teaching license in speech communications and theater. But the year I graduated was the year President Reagan made a lot of cuts in the school system. And so my degree almost became useless because they combined speech and communications with English classes. And I either had to go back to school and get an English degree or move to a larger community where they were still separating those programs. And I really had no desire to do either one at that point. And so I began working for a quasi-governmental agency and have been doing nonprofit work ever since.
Wow. Well, good for you. It's quite a story. Ron, we're ready to find out what you wanted to be as a little boy.
Oh, wow. Actually, I grew up as one of those kids that I was always tidying things on shelves and things. We would go to Veach's and I would straighten the toys instead of playing. I don't know. It was weird. But I always wanted to be in business. It was the only thing. I never wanted to really be a fireman or a policeman. I just always thought about being in business, and that's the career path that I followed.
So I'm assuming you did grow up in this area?
I grew up in Richmond, grew up here, graduated from Richmond High, 1972.
Okay.
And then I moved away, was gone for over 20 years, and then ended up coming back.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, great. So quite interesting to hear that you wanted to be a business person even as a young child.
Yes.
So that's great news. So what I want to do now is transition. We're going to learn about the businesses, and I believe we'll probably start with the Tin Lizzy.
Okay.
Is that probably the one that was established first?
That is correct.
Okay. And as we learn about that, I think there's some history even behind that building and that restaurant, correct? Even before Tin Lizzy?
Yes. The building itself, going back to the late 70s, was known as the Circus Shop. Okay. A lot of people remember Miller's Circus Shop or Miller's Cafeteria. And the Miller's Circus Shop was part of the Promenade. And it was there for probably a little over 10 years, maybe even longer than that. Closed in 1991.
Okay.
When it closed, a gentleman by the name of Tom Amix came in and purchased it and turned it into Tom's New York Deli. A lot of people remember Tom's New York Deli.
Sure.
And Tom was there for 20 years. And he retired in 2011. We took over the business at that point. And the rest is history, as they say. So we've been there 8 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's I can't believe it either. Yeah, it's flown by.
Because I do remember Tom, having it and operating in there. So that's really, time is flying by.
Yeah.
So, well, let's talk about the name change, though, because how did it go from Tom's New York Deli to the Tin Lizzy? And I'm assuming that that's because of the transition of ownership.
Correct. Yes.
But how the name came about?
Well, 2008, we're going back to remember the centennial for the Model T Fords?
Yes.
Okay. We were volunteers for that. Rachel and I volunteered for it. And I really got the bug for a Model T. Rachel, I think more or less. She kind of maybe followed along, but
Okay.
But we did end up with a Model T, and the Model T was always called the Tin Lizzy. Almost from the day of inception, it got the nickname of the Tin Lizzy. And I just liked that, liked the look of the car, and liked the name of it. And so I thought, what a perfect name for a restaurant or for a cafe would be Tin Lizzy. And that's how the name came about.
So where's your vehicle?
My vehicle's parked in a garage. We haven't had it out much this summer, but we're hoping to get it out and run around the town with it, a little bit more.
So you name your restaurant after your car. You got to bring your car down to the restaurant. And we have to see it.
I would love to do that. I keep threatening to pull it into the flower garden there in front of the store, but I don't think the mayor would like that too much. But.
Yeah. Wow.
And she's a bit of a fair weather car.
Oh, yeah?
It's a 1924. So when you think about how old that is, she doesn't like rain so much. She doesn't have windows, so we don't like rain. And if it's too hot, it's pretty miserable too. So.
Does she go fast?
Ooh,
Oh,
yeah.
35 miles an hour.
Okay.
All day long.
Downhill.
No,
That's got
38
to be
downhill.
that's got to be a lot of fun. But
is fun.
uphill's a problem. And but the fact I did not know that about the name of the restaurant being after the car. So that's something good to know now.
Yeah.
And you have photos of it in the restaurant, I hope.
Yes, we do.
Okay, I'll have to look for
do.
those.
Yeah.
But so let's talk about the business though. What are the hours? You're open early?
Monday through Friday, we open at 8 a.m. We serve breakfast until 11 a.m. and then lunch until 3 o'clock.
Okay. So as the entrepreneurs, you guys get to make the decisions. You made the decisions on the hours. You get to make the decision on the menus, all those things. So how do you sort that out? Because you're both entrepreneurs, and do some of you take certain tasks? Rachel, do you have tasks that you handle?
I would start by saying don't go into business with your spouse unless you have a really strong relationship,
There you go.
unless you have a lot of mutual respect for each other, because it's hard. It is really hard to work with your spouse, especially when one is left-handed and does everything one way, one is right-handed and does everything another way. But we compromise very well. And Ron does the majority of the work. I'm kind of the assistant on the side. So I'll go in the morning and help do prep. So I'll do the side dishes or chop the vegetables for the day or things like that. Just kind of doing the busy work so that while he's cooking, he doesn't have to do any of that. And then if we have a catering, I'll go in after work and help with that because I have a full-time job that is not at the restaurant. But that helps us keep our overhead as low as we can. And we're in this together, so
sure.
I should be there helping.
Okay. So Ron, let's talk about your duties then, because in the class I teach that entrepreneurs do it all, okay? And so we have everything from accounting to finance to marketing, management, HR. And I know you're probably thinking, yeah, but we outsource some of that. You still have to do it because you have to understand what those individuals are talking to you about. So how do you handle all those things?
You just have to do them one at a time. You have to set time aside to do them. A lot of times I'll leave the restaurant, I'll get home, sit for about a half hour and unwind, and then I'll go and do paperwork. And I'll do paperwork for an hour, 2 hours at a time. So that's how you do it. You just keep your books up that way. You keep current with things. I'm always reading restaurant articles, things of that nature, just to make sure that I'm keeping current with things. If there's recalls, we get notices if there's recalls on lettuce or anything like that, and we'll check and make sure we do not have any of that product on hand. And so there's always something to do.
So you're working with vendors as well, right? I mean, where do you get your inventory?
Well, we do get we do participate. We talk to vendors. We order from vendors, and we have several vendors. I can't even name all of the vendors, but every week I'll place an order for the major part of the food. It'll come in. The rest of it, I just kind of keep track of it, and I have little sheets and things that I look at and take care to make sure that everything's there and we're at the levels that we need to be, our par levels, so to speak.
Sure. So you're getting the restaurant opened at 8 a.m. and you're running it till 3 in the afternoon. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's when we close.
Yeah, I was going to say there's work to be done afterwards, right?
I had to rush to get here at 4 o'clock.
So what happens then is there's days you're working till 5 and 6 probably, and if there's a catering job, maybe later.
Yes.
Sometimes later.
And I don't think you get in at 8.
No.
You probably go in 6:30, 7?
5:45, 6 o'clock
Really?
there.
Even earlier than I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Okay. So I usually wait till the end of the show, but I'm going to ask now, how many hours do you think you're working a week?
Oh man, you don't count them. If you're in business for yourself, don't count your hours because and never calculate how much you're making an hour because then you'll quit. You'll fire yourself. I don't know. I probably do, 60 hours a week?
There's a lot of 12-hour days by the time you consider paperwork at the end of the day, and I'll sit and do social media, get that ready for the next day and things like that. Mm-hmm. But Ron probably puts in 10 to 11 hours a day.
Sure.
Easily.
And Rachel, I was going to turn to you and ask the same question because, I know you're working another job, but you're also very much involved in the restaurant. And whether it be before you go in or after you get off, and weekends, I'm sure. And I was going to ask about social media, and you just jumped right in. So you're handling the social media?
I do the social media. Every morning we post our specials. So if I'm on a business trip or something, I will set those up before I go so that they can go out automatically. But if I'm going to be there, I usually wait till the last minute because Ron may have a change of heart and he may decide we're having something different that morning. He's,
I'm an artist.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah?
He's an artist. And he's decided he wants to run a different special for the day or something new that he's decided to try. So, to say these are my duties and this is when I do it is really difficult because as the only two owners, you do it when you have to do it. So
how many hours are you putting in, Rachel?
at the deli, like maybe an hour and a half in the morning, and then occasionally I'll have to help at lunch if someone's ill or something like that. And then the social media of an evening, I just sit and do it while we're
good 20 hours
watching
at least,
TV.
if not more. Yeah.
Maybe.
That's really quite more than you probably realize. And just don't you add it up either because
Right.
it would
That's
make
right.
a difference.
That's
So, well, great. Sounds like you've got it running pretty smooth, though. How many employees do you guys have?
We have 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that a challenge?
The employees, having 3 employees,
Yeah.
sometimes we wish we had more.
Yeah, I can
But you have
imagine.
to balance that because you don't always need that extra employee. So you have to balance that out also. The employees we have 1 full-time employee and 2 part-time employees. They're all very good at what they do, and that helps a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You have to get the right people doing the right things. Because we're constantly following up on someone and having to check what they're doing, that makes the job harder. But if you've got someone that you can trust in the job, you can just let them do their thing and,
That comes with experience and
Exactly.
time. And so you've been doing this 8 years, is that correct? 9 years?
Well, with 10 Lizzy, I was in corporate restaurants for probably a little over 20 years. So.
Oh, okay. So you came from a corporate restaurant to the Tim Lizzy. So, okay, so you had the background.
I had the background. And I would
Okay.
say that also, a lot of people will go, oh, I ate at a restaurant, I think I'll start a restaurant. It really sounds easy, and well, I know how to cook. I can do this, I can barbecue, I can do all these things. And that's a good base, but you've got to have the background. If you don't have the background, you're just going to get swamped by it. It's just, there's just so many different things you have to pull together.
Okay, so we're going to come back to some of those things, but I've got to ask a question that's just, on my mind. When you guys decided to get into this business, whose idea was it?
Hers.
It was Rachel's idea. Okay, so let's talk about how that happens.
It's a fun story.
Okay.
It's a fun story. So Tom, when he was ready to retire, decided he was going to give the restaurant away to the right person. And I always thought when Tom retired, Ron would be the perfect person to run that restaurant, because I would go down and eat at Tom's a lot, and Ron's personality would just be perfect for this little deli cafe. So it was brought to my attention that Tom had decided to give this restaurant away. So I went home, I'm all excited, I tell Ron about it, and he just looks at me and he's like, well, how much does he want? And I said, no, he's giving it away. And he's like, no, he's much more practical than I am. Long story short, we wrote a letter to Tom and told him why we felt that we were the best people to take this over. He called us, interviewed us, and decided we were the right people to take it over. So on my birthday, we bought a deli. And we do want to tell people that he really didn't give us the restaurant. We bought the building and that type of thing. But it's a fun story to say he gave it away. But in fact, he was turning his business over to someone to run it.
Yeah,
And
I mean, you're right,
so,
because even though you buy the building, okay, a lot of times to buy a business means to buy that book of
Absolutely.
business. So if they did X amount last year, they expect to bring in
Right.
this much this year. And so you really did get a gift to
Yes,
start,
yes.
which is great. And I think that's a great exit plan for entrepreneurs, to be able to set up incoming entrepreneurs. So that was just brilliant what you guys pulled off.
And his goal was to keep it open, to keep it with the small town feel that Tom always had. You know, you walked in, he knew your name, they knew what you wanted, and Ron has carried that on. And we have people that come in on a regular basis, sometimes for breakfast and lunch every day.
Sure.
And Marlene will start fixing their lunch when she sees them coming, or start fixing their breakfast, because we know our customers. We know what they like, and we try to provide great customer service, and that's what Tom was looking for. So I hope he's proud of us.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure he is. And you know, when I was working downtown several years ago at the bank, I would eat there almost every day, and I knew everybody in there. And then when you leave the area and I come out to the university, it's more difficult to get down there. But as of recent, I've been coming down more and more, and it's just like coming back home. And I have to tell you a story that just a few weeks ago I was in, and there was a young couple with 2 children, and they walked in and they started talking about the circus shop. And the man said to the lady, he said, there was a clown, and there was this, and there was this. And I'm just taking it all in. I'm thinking, I kind of remember, I mean, I grew up in Richmond as well, and I remember there was a circus shop. Wasn't there enough to really remember details.
Yep.
But I always thought it was a couple stores down.
It
and
was right
so for
there.
you to say that means they were correct. It's neat to how many people probably come back to the restaurant as their home place, you know, just like me now returning back there and them returning as well. So that's great. The other thing we have to talk about, though, is there's been a lot of construction over the years. We can go back 3 years, 5 years, as long as you want, and there's always some kind of construction going on. I've always felt like that's a sign of production, and usually those are good things, but they're troubling points. How did you work through that?
Well, you just do. You go into, first off, you have to go in, you have to have something to fall back on. You have to have a nest egg. You have to have something put away that if times do get tough, you can still pay the bills. You can still pay your employees. You can still do all of the things you have to do. And those are the times that you don't buy new equipment. You know, you make sure the old equipment works as well as it can, and you keep it running. So that's one of the first things you have to do, and we were very lucky, and I'll take partial credit for that we did have a nest egg put back, and we've used that to some extent because the construction did hurt. It didn't hurt us as bad as some people, but we also had that cushion that we were a little more comfortable probably than some. So you have to have that. You just have to keep doing what you're doing, and you have to keep telling people, no, we're open. You have to put up extra signs, whatever it is, you have to do that. Rachel with the social media did a very good job with keeping people aware that, nope, we're still here. Nope, we're not gone. Yeah, it's harder to park, but, you know, come on down, it's worth it. So those are the things that you have to do. You just have to make a plan. You have to plan on not being busy.
Yeah. Well, I have to tell you that I thought it was fun in your personality, because the first time I came in the front and there was a lot of construction going on, I remember saying to you, wow, how long is this going to last? And you said, just a couple weeks. And I thought, really?
We're so optimistic.
It went a little longer than a couple weeks, but at the same time, in my mindset, it was like, okay, that's good, you know. So that was a good way of pulling it off. So,
and Ron is being far too modest. He is an exceptional businessman and looks at the costs. And you know, if business is down one place, you look for other ways to make it up.
Sure.
So we really concentrated on catering, getting more catering so we could go to them. They didn't have to come to us if the street wasn't open. And so he needs a little more credit than he just gave himself.
and I do want to make sure we understand that there is catering and delivery that goes on, because recently I was in, I didn't see you right away. Then you came in and said, you're out on delivery.
Right.
I didn't know you delivered. So that's outstanding to know as well. But there's something else going on, because I'm used to the tin Lizzy, and then all of a sudden I realize there's the tin cup.
Just popped
So-
up, didn't it?
You did. So what's the tin cup?
The Tin Cup is a tea and gift shop located right next door in the other half of our building, if you will. And if people out there are familiar with the old buildings, it looks like one storefront, but when you get inside, it's actually divided inside. So there's an opening between the two halves of the building. And once we got the other half, which hadn't been used for probably 15 years when we bought the building, we renovated it, took out old carpet, took down some walls, and made a little tea and gift shop out of it. And it's been open getting close to 3 years now. In October, it'll be 3 years.
It's nice.
Thank you.
It truly is. I was invited there to be a speaker at one of the service clubs.
Yes.
And it was the first time I'd been there. And I came through and went back in the room and set up, and then we came over, had lunch, you know, we brought it over, and I was shocked. I mean, I didn't know about it, and so it's really a nice place.
Yes,
And
our
I think-
little conference room will seat about 20, 22.
And I think it's a great gathering place. I mean, for 20 people
It
to come
is.
in, it's a great gathering place. And I mean, you rent that, or?
During the day, we don't normally charge if it's a nonprofit or a service group. For-profit businesses, we do ask a fee for the room. And then after hours, we have a fee because it's, you
Sure,
know, we just have to
sure.
keep the lights on. And so
Well, you're
the
in
fees aren't
business.
high, but
You're in business, and you should have a
Yes.
business. So, so that would be available even into the evenings if somebody needed it and
Yes.
such, right?
yes,
Okay.
we've hosted a lot of baby and bridal showers and small family reunions and things like that there.
Yeah. Well, you know, I think there's some great things happening in downtown Richmond.
There
and,
are.
And it's exciting to have people like yourselves in to talk about it, because you guys are what's making it happen. And I mean, you've had plenty of opportunities to be down, but you're not, you're up. And that's what you should
Absolutely.
be. And I mean, that's progress. That's the next generation of Richmondites. I mean, you know, I'm proud to be here and be a part of it. So keep doing that. And your employees are happy. You know, I feel like when I'm there, and you're out on delivery, so you're not watching them.
Right.
They're interacting well with customers, and
Good.
they're enjoying it. So
That's
I
good
think
to hear.
one of the
I like to hear
successes of being a strong entrepreneur is having good help. And I think you're doing a good job of training them, developing, and keeping them. What's your average tenure with your help? They've been there a while?
Oh, geez, Marlene's been there 7 years, probably. I think she started right after we opened, and Corey has been there over a year now.
She's our newest employee.
And I think Rick's been there almost 2 years. So it's
Yeah, so that's pretty good, really. It is. It is. So
Yeah.
I always like to find out, though. Entrepreneurship to me is exciting. Okay, I really enjoy it. I love learning about new businesses and how it works. But I think it's exciting for you, or you wouldn't be doing it. What's
Exactly.
exciting about entrepreneurship for you, Ron?
I hate to be, but it's being your own boss it's kind of a cliche, but that is part of it. But it's also part of the burden too, because you don't have anybody else to put it off on. You're responsible for everything, but that's the exciting part. And when something does work, something, you know, you have this idea and you put it together and it works, then you kind of go, yeah, that's a great feeling. And if it fails, well, okay, well, I'll try something new. But that's part of it. And I do hear that. You know, we've been there 8 years now, so we're doing something right.
Sure you are.
Yep.
Yeah, it's obvious.
Yep.
Rachel, What's exciting about being an entrepreneur for you?
I love starting new things. So just moving into that restaurant that Tom, said, here, I'm trusting you with this. And all of the exciting things that we could build on from what he had started, but then the new ideas. And, again, to Ron's credit, we didn't go in and make changes right away. We got to know our clientele. We got to know which sandwiches on the menu were important, which ones we couldn't touch at all, and which ones we could maybe take away after a time and put new ideas in front of the folks. And so just the idea of starting something new and seeing it grow is exciting to me.
So listening to the customers and changing from it, I like it. I like that a lot.
Customer service.
Yeah.
It's not a lost art. It's just,
Not
just
if
been
it's in
forgotten
Lizzy.
sometimes.
Yeah, but your customers that come in, they're regulars. I mean, they're there
They
a lot.
absolutely are regulars, and we
those
love 'em.
those individuals who may not be a regular that want to visit, they feel like a regular. I mean, everybody welcomes them. So you're going to have a conversation if you're in there, whether it be with your help or
Absolutely,
whether it
yep.
be with your guests that are enjoying it. So it's a great experience, and I'm glad I have it. So
Well,
thank you for
thank
coming
you.
on the
Thank you.
show. Thank you,
Thank you.
Rachel.
We appreciate it.
This concludes another episode of In Your Business. Today's been a lot of fun for me because, I know Ron and Rachel from going into the diner and having lunch, and it's been a great experience. But to get to know them as entrepreneurs is just thrilling for me. Rachel said she's been here about 25 years, and I feel like she's been here her entire life when I see the pride that she has for Richmond. Ron, he's got a smile on his face all the time, only because he's making a difference. I don't know. They could be breaking even at the restaurant, and they're so happy because they're not trying to make money. They're trying to just be a part of our community, and they're doing an excellent job. So I hope you go down and visit, see what they're doing. I'll tell you, that Tin Cup, I love that place. The Tin Lizzy, great place to eat. I could spend every day down there. So I hope you will as well. Thanks again for watching In Your Business.